You're right, folks, it's Boston, and welcome to Opinion Corner. This week, as you may have guessed from the title, we're talking about the new Microsoft and Sony consoles. Now, when I say new consoles, it seems a little bit odd because we are sort of mid-generation here with the consoles. Not even mid-generation considering how long the last generation of consoles was. If you're unfamiliar with the concept, consoles come out in generations. So the NES from Nintendo was part of one generation. The next generation was signaled by the release of the SNES. So it's usually an update in graphics. So obviously movement from 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit. 64 obviously being the Nintendo 64. Right up until the graphics we've got now. Now what both Microsoft and Sony have been talking about for the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of months even, is the fact that they're going to be releasing consoles that are going to be able to cope with 4K definition. And a whole host of other things. 4K definition, I think, is the main reason why they've pushed this, not necessarily a new generation of consoles, but like a 0.5 version of the current generation, is because 4K and virtual reality is starting to take off in a wider sense. Obviously the Rift has been going for many years now, the Vive is new to the scene, but you know, virtual reality has been being talked about and experimented with over the last 5 years, but it's really coming to the forefront of most modern gamers' lives now. And so the two consoles that everyone tends to be talking about is the Xbox Scorpio and the PlayStation Neo, or the PS4 Pro. There's a reason why we shouldn't be talking about them like that. We shouldn't be comparing those two consoles. The PS4 Pro is coming out this year. It's coming out in November. At the moment, I think the release date is November the 10th, but that could definitely change. Whereas the Scorpio, or Project Scorpio, isn't meant to be coming until late 2017. And when I mean late, I mean winter. This means that there's going to be at least 10 months between the two consoles, and anyone who understands what goes into making a console, hardware-wise, understands that 10 months is a long time for hardware to change and specs to change. So when somebody turns around to you and you are a proud PS4 owner and you are looking forward to the PS4 Pro and you may even buy it, and they say, "Nah man, you should just wait for the Scorpio, it's going to be better," and you go all defensive because you're a Sony elitist, they're right. The Scorpio is obviously going to be better. You know, the processor, so far what's been released is that they're both going to be 8-core processors. Okay? Not sure what kind of clock speed they're going to have, but it's going to be an 8-core processor. You've got to consider the space of time between these two consoles means that Microsoft are going to have access to better hardware. Now, the information we've got at the moment is rumour, speculation, hearsay. But what we can say for definite is that the PS4 Pro, or the Neo, is going to have access to less favourable hardware than the Scorpio. So at the time when the Scorpio comes out, whatever it chooses to be called, the Scorpio will be better than the PS4 Pro in theory, because it will have access to better technology at the time. What we should really be focusing on here is the difference between the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One Slim. Now, the Xbox One Slim really is it's the same console as the Xbox One right now, except you've got access to 4K video, not 4K gaming, but DVDs that are capable of showing on your TV in a 4K resolution, providing that you have a 4K resolution TV. And it's going to have a bigger hard drive. Now, I don't know about you, but I never even managed to fill up my 360 hard drive. So hard drive space really means nothing to me when it comes to a console. Maybe a little more now, because I tend to get digital versions of games instead of hard copies of games. That's more to do with the fact that my PS4's disk drive's broke. But I'm getting off topic. The Xbox One Slim, to me, doesn't feel like an upgrade. It's not the kind of console for an Xbox One player at the moment. I don't see any reason over buying that or a 4K Blu-ray player. It makes no difference. I can imagine a 4K Blu-ray player is probably cheaper than the Xbox One Slim. To talk about the PS4 Pro compared to the current PS4 or the PS4 Neo, whatever you want to call it. According to what they've said in press releases, Sony have said that the PS4 Pro's processing power will be twice as fast as a PS4, or the GPU will be twice as fast as a PS4. Now, that is something to get excited about. If you're definitely stuck with continuing to play Sony consoles, if you really want to stick with the PS4, then the Slim is a viable upgrade. It's definitely worth buying if games that require that much GPU power actually start coming out for the console. Whereas with the Slim and the Xbox, I don't see a reason to buy the Slim. On the other hand, if you have the option, I would hold off on buying the PS4 Pro, see what games are going to be released for Project Scorpio, and buy Project Scorpio. The console is going to be better than the PS4 and the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One. It is bordering on a new generation of console, in theory, providing that Microsoft do it right. Their main competitor when it comes to buying Project Scorpio, when it is finally released or announced and then released, is going to be the PS4 Pro, unless Sony decide to develop a third console within this generation in the next 12 months. So there's always the possibility that Microsoft maybe won't use the most up-to-date console technology in Project Scorpio, and so the similarities between the PS4 Pro and Project Scorpio will be roughly the same. I owned the Xbox 360 and then I moved over to PS4, namely due to all of the ridiculous things that Microsoft was talking about prior to the release of Xbox One, such as not being able to share games, all sorts of ridiculous things that was going to kill buying pre-owned games and everything, and that put me off Microsoft as a company. Plus the Xbox exclusives weren't enough to win me over to buy that, whereas the PlayStation exclusives were. I'm not an elitist in any way, shape or form. While people were arguing about who was better, Nintendo or PlayStation, I owned both when I was a kid. While people were talking about who made better consoles, Sega or Nintendo, I owned both. I was lucky enough to get those consoles off family, friends, borrow them. I was lucky to play them all. I enjoyed them all. And yes, there were differences, but at the time I didn't care. As an adult, yes, I can't really afford to buy both consoles anymore. But what I am probably going to do is wait off to see how well Project Scorpio goes before I upgrade my system. I think that's the most important thing to do there, is to wait to see what games are going to be released, wait to see what performance issues show up. I'm not going to go out and buy a PS4 Pro unless my PS4 breaks. And I'm only going to buy a PS4 Pro if it's worth the extra money than me just going out and buying a regular PS4. Whereas if I wait a year, I manage to make this PS4 last for that long, and Project Scorpio is showing some absolutely brilliant games coming out, or some revolutionary technology, and I actually managed to go out and buy a 4K TV, which is ridiculously expensive, then yeah, I'll switch over to Microsoft again. It makes no difference. What makes a difference is the power of the games, the power of the console, and therefore benefiting the games that you're playing. I don't know whether any of you played Dark Souls 1 on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Now, I can't remember whether it was Xbox or PlayStation, but there was some absolutely awful lag when you got into one certain area of the game where there was a great deal to render. Now, that was a console thing. That particular console could not possibly cope with what was being rendered on screen at the time, and so there was lag. Those kind of things can really put you off a certain console. It didn't affect me too much when I was playing the game, because obviously Dark Souls takes your mind off it, but if it's happening in a lot of games, if you're getting bad loading times and stuff like that, you kind of want to opt for the console that does that less. If it looks like Project Scorpio is going to do that, if Project Scorpio is going to receive the same games as PlayStation, then the extra processing power that they may have in Project Scorpio will be worth a buy. And if it's not, the PS4 Pro, for current PlayStation users, the PS4 Pro is the logical next option. I mean, for any of you die-hard Xbone fans, they're obviously going to either buy the Slim because they can buy the Slim because they're stupid, or they'll go out and they'll save money for Project Scorpio when that comes out, because those people will never go out and buy a PlayStation because they think that it's sacrilege, that it's something that you definitely shouldn't do, that it's like a war between the two consoles, which is just fucking stupid. But anyway, I'm rambling, but my main point is, don't buy the Xbox One Slim. It's a waste of money. If you want to upgrade your PS4's processing power, when the PS4 Pro comes out, see what the spec actually is, see how games run on it compared to the PS4, then make an educated decision on whether the PS4 Pro is going to be worth the money that they're asking for, and purchase it. If, like me, you're interested in a great deal more technology in your console, and you don't care if you own a Sony or Microsoft product in your home, then wait until Project Scorpio comes out and make a decision based on everything currently available at that time. That is the best option. Games are not going to come out for the PS4 Pro that aren't going to be released for the PS4. Games that run on the PS4 Pro are not going to be incompatible with the PS4 because of processor speed. Sony would be shooting themselves in the foot by releasing a game releasing a console this early in a generation, which makes their previous console obsolete. It is idiocy if they were to do that. Now, to be fair, judging by the release of the last Microsoft console, it wouldn't surprise me if Project Scorpio did exactly that and made the Xbox One obsolete, but I reserve my judgment until winter next year. But anyway, guys, as always, that's my opinion, and that's why it's called Opinion Corner. Take it easy. Laters.